Welcome to the SRS Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron J. Babyar, and I'm the Director of Support Raising Solutions. Whether you are a new ministry worker or a veteran looking to increase your competence and confidence, Support Raising Solutions seeks to bless you in your quest to be a spiritually healthy, vision-driven, and fully funded Great Commission worker. Hey, welcome to the SRS Podcast. My guest today is once again Mr. Micah May. Love having Micah be with us on the podcast. He always brings some good wisdom and knowledge and understanding. So Micah, my friend, welcome.
Yeah, it's good to be on the call.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
You know, Christmas time, some people they want to avoid thinking about support raising. Other people, it's so much in their face right now because they have end of year needs, or maybe they just started support raising recently, or it's kind of that mixture between it's on the front burner and they're wanting to put it on the back burner. And, we've had all sorts of different questions in this time of year. And so just really wanted to invite you on today to just kind of talk about that kind of stuff. So thanks again for being here. And let's talk about something that came up in a different discussion we had recently. I know we had a guy who put a question to us at one of the SRS boot camps where he basically said, hey, is December, Christmas, is that kind of a bad time of year? Should I not be trying to be support raising around the holidays? And I remember you had a pretty good response to that. So let's start right there. Let me put that question to you. To somebody who's thinking maybe they shouldn't be doing support raising at Christmas, what would you say?
I say it is a great time to be support raising. Obviously, there's going to be some people that because of travel or holidays that they're not going to be able to connect. But the ones you do connect with, some great things can happen. And over 30% of all charitable giving happens in December. So people are in a giving mood. And so I think too many times support raisers, we make excuses of why we can't. Instead of looking for opportunities of God, who do you want me to meet with? Because there might be somebody that's actually asking and praying, saying, God, is there a what we call a Jesus gift in my household? Every year at Christmas, all of the kids, all of us, we give each other gifts, but before we open up a single present, we open up our Jesus gift and we go around the circle and each share what we did above and beyond, something special as a gift to him to celebrate his life. So there may be a family out there or a person, an individual that has a Jesus gift that maybe they haven't done yet. And you might be the answer to their prayer. You never know. You never know.
And of course, sometimes that might be something that you ask before the actual Christmas date, but people might even be listening to this like on Christmas or maybe the day after, and they're going, oh, wait a minute here. Am I too late? Is it post-Christmas? It's still not quite the end of the year. And to which, what would you say?
One of the things that I love to do, and so I think there's two answers to two different people groups. One, if you're already a Christian worker or a missionary that's living off support, this is a great time of the year to personally connect with your donors. And so I make a list of all my donors and say, who have I not connected with lately? And who is somebody that I'd like to connect? Sometimes you can call all of them. I remember one Christmas Eve, I was traveling from my house to some family members a few hours away. And I just took my support list. And I remember making those phone calls and just saying, hey, I know it's Christmas Eve, but I just want to wish you a Merry Christmas and say thank you for supporting me and the work we do with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And I was blown away at how many people said, no, Micah, thank you. Thank you for allowing us to give. It's a privilege and an honor. And so the first thing I'd say, if you're already a missionary living on support, don't use this time to just sit around, but connect with your donors. If you hadn't already done that, many of you probably already have.
Yeah, hopefully you've already done some good work for your end of year connecting with your donors anyway, but your work might not be over if there's people you have the opportunity to connect with, right?
Absolutely. And so I would recommend to not let the lies of the enemy say you can't talk to anybody during this time because they're with family or whatever the reason is. The ones that you connect with are probably the ones that God has put in your path. Amen. And so give it a shot. The appointments that you do have, the ones that you do make, let God lead in those decisions.
Good. Hey, I want to throw a caveat in here. If you're traveling to grandma's or mom and dad's or whatever else, and you're going to be around other family members, I want to encourage you to ask them still for an appointment. Don't try and do it over your Christmas meal with support raising. Don't try and casually bring it up as you're watching a basketball game or something like that. But let it be something that, from convenience, you might be from Cleveland, they might be from Chicago, and hey, you're in the same room in Cincinnati. Don't just take advantage of that from a standpoint of letting that be the appointment, but maybe say, hey, you know what? I've been wanting to share with you about our ministry. How about if I buy you a Starbucks this afternoon? Let's go to Starbucks. Let me share with you a little bit more about our ministry and our vision and our budget goals, and really allow it to be more of a natural thing, but it gives you a social permission rather than trying to turn, the game of Monopoly suddenly into also a support raising. That's just not going to end well no matter what. Right. No matter what. What about end of year giving? What would you tell people? Maybe they've already sent, Micah, let's say they've already sent out an end of year newsletter, and maybe they sent it out digitally and paper wise, and maybe they're not wanting to push, and yet they're also thinking, well, we're almost to the actual end of the year. Should I send something else out? What would you say?
Yeah, there's a couple options. The first thing I would say, if you wanted to touch all your donors or potential donors, you can always shoot them a text message that say, hey, just wanted to say thank you. Maybe you've met with them before. Just an appropriate text just to bring you to the forefront of their mind and your ministry.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to bring or mention money in that.
No.
It could be simply something where you sit down and you pray for all of your supporters and then you let them know. But yeah, bringing yourself to the forefront of their mind because they're on the forefront of your mind. That's certainly one way. What else?
Yeah, and it kind of goes along with that. I remember not too long ago, I just personally called one of my donors. I had a reason to call. I bumped into their kiddos and I said, hey, just wanted to touch base. It's been a while. And through that conversation, they asked what our needs were and prayer requests and shared some things with them. And in that conversation, without me even intending to ask, they doubled their monthly support from $150 a month to $300 a month. And it was a huge blessing to me. And it really came through just a conversation. So one strategy might be to call without a strategy of we're going to ask on the phone or we're going to set up an appointment, and maybe just call your donors or call potential donors and touch base. Say, hey, had you on my mind. And as the conversation leads, hey, what are you doing this next week? Or you're in town. Oh, I am too. Let's connect. And I think it's one of those a little bit more organic conversations. But the key is if you don't call or you don't text, you kind of leave everything up to chances. So I like to be a little more proactive and just starting that conversation, let God breathe on it.
Yeah. Now, I know that a question that we get, in fact, I got it today from someone, is, are there bad times? Usually, I know, Micah, you and I would both say, no, there's not necessarily a bad time. Obviously, don't call somebody after 11 o'clock at night, all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the holidays, really respect the fact that Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, at least in the morning, if not the whole day, that might not be quite as appropriate, depending on your context and your culture. Where I'm from, where I grew up, generally speaking, that's kind of the wrong time to reach out. After about 4 o'clock on Christmas Eve or any time during Christmas Day, that would feel really countercultural and a bad idea to me. And so as different things, you want to keep that in mind. But man, most of December 24th and all of December 26th, that's kind of fair game, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and you never know what people's financial situations are. Some of them they literally wait till the last minute and they have some year-end giving for tax purposes that they need to get rid of. And so you may be the answer to their prayer. You just never know. You can't talk yourself in or out. Yes, it may be a bad time for some, but it might be a great time for others. You really just don't know.
Good point. What else about end of year comes to mind as you're thinking through different strategies or thoughts that people might have in regard to, but I want to enjoy the holiday. I need to be present with my family. I want, I guess I don't know my question exactly outside of people need to have some personal space. They need to take some time for rest. We're not advocating, work nonstop necessarily throughout the entire, week or two your kids are out of school, but put a little flesh on that idea.
Yeah, I mean, God first, family second, ministry and support raising and everything that comes in that third. And so definitely take time to be present when you're present with your family. And if there's days that you've decided these are going to be work days, work. And if that work includes support raising or potential support raising or connecting with donors, then do that. I've just found people to be very friendly and very happy that they've heard from me around this time of year. And a lot of times people aren't calling because, they know it's family time, or, people are busy traveling or doing Christmas. And so to be able to have, that time where an old friend or somebody reaches out to say, hey, had you on my mind. I've had really positive conversations.
Good. Well, I think one of the positive conversations that comes to mind for me too is I have a family member, and of course, keep everything really general here, but he's on my support team. I have found my best conversations with him about ministry always happens at Christmas. He brings it up. And it's not that he doesn't read my newsletters, but I don't think he really reads my newsletters.
It's better in person.
It really is. And so I just allow him to do it in his own good timing. At some point, he'll say, hey, how's it going with the ministry? Or, hey, what's going on with this? You've been traveling a lot lately. And I've realized that generally speaking, that's just a time to reconnect and build a relationship. But I'm always ready. Like I always have learned over the years, I need to have a story of a changed life to share with him when he brings it up.
That's good.
Because it's just strategic to do it. And this year, and I've actually not done praying and thinking through it, I think I might actually invite him to make an increase when he brings it up. I think it might be appropriate because he seems to bring it up at such a time where he and I can really talk. And now, generally speaking, I'm probably not going to do that. I'm just going to thank him and tell him a good story because he's a partner in the gospel. But we have a little bit of project we're working through right now, and we're doing some end of year giving. So I might actually bring that up to him and invite him to do something a little bit extra without putting any pressure on him. So that's very unplanned, planned, unstructured, structure. And so that's just a little bit about something for me. Anything from your personal life or family members or people you might run into this year?
Well, the two things that you said I want to comment on before we go there is just that first of all, you're having a plan, but there's flexibility. So the first thing is you have a story of a changed life ready to share. Also, you would love to ask them for an increase if the opportunity presents itself. So
right.
It may be a situation where you get in the situation and it just comes up very naturally. And I think when it comes to family, I know Steve Shadrach always gave us kind of like a free pass to make sure we use discernment. And, he said, talk to everybody about joining your support team. But when it comes to family, he gives us, kind of a free pass not to, if that's not the right thing for that relationship.
Right.
And so I think the key is with family, it's all organic as the spirit leads. But what I like about your plan, Aaron, is you have a plan that you're hoping happens, and then you're letting the Spirit lead in that Christmas dinner, in that Christmas time, to breathe life. And it's something I'm sure you're praying about, and more than likely because the prayer changes things, that opportunity will present itself.
Yeah. And if it doesn't, I'm actually okay with that.
Absolutely.
Because I'll catch him in a month or two when I'm in his area of the country. So probably the last thing I want to touch on real quick is as you're raising support and we know that we have people that live off full support, that are fully funded, listen to this podcast like you and me, who sometimes have different events or projects or things coming up where they might need to raise a little extra for. But we also have a lot of people that they're in the process, man. They're first time in. They've never quite fully raised their full support. They're working on it really hard right now. And they're thinking, how am I supposed to do this over the holidays? I just want to bring up the possibility that if you're going back and traveling back to your own hometown or where you're from, the odds are pretty high. There's other people there that are also going to be there that same time that aren't usually there. So if you're from Cleveland and your friend is, they're living in Chicago and you're both traveling to Cleveland and you're not usually both going to be in Cleveland, and yet here you are for a few days, pay attention to social media. If you've been wanting to try and hopefully maybe reconnect with that friend, you might never go to Chicago otherwise, but you're both in Cleveland at the same time. Reach out. Hey, you're home. I'm home. Let's meet at Starbucks. I want to tell you about my ministry. It can be really strategic if you're just kind of paying attention to those that are from where you're from when you're both going to be there at the same time. And I have definitely had some great meetings with people that some became prayer supporters, a couple became financial supporters that I just kind of tagged in over the years with other natural, free-flowing life things that were going on. And it's a blessing to see a couple people that God brought to my team that they weren't really like hard and fast on my radar. They were just more people that I always loved to have the opportunity and didn't realize one day, God opened the door. There was an opportunity and I was able to meet with them. So, well, we're going to wrap this up. This is kind of our Christmas/New Year podcast. But any final words of wisdom or final words, I'd love to defer to you, my friend.
Well, I just like that idea. And what it reminds me of is having a strategy. And that's a great idea to think about people you went to high school with. Just message them. Hey, direct message them, even if you don't have their cell phone. Maybe use social media platform to connect. Say, hey, are you coming into town during Christmas time or New Year's? I'd love to connect. And it's cool to think about connecting with old friends with the intentionality to possibly talk about your ministry. And so you just have to, like I said, be a little bit organic with that, have a game plan, and see what happens. Because more than likely, if they're coming in from out of state, maybe you're traveling back home from out of state, that may be the only time that y'all are in the same town together is over the holidays. So if you don't ever look at that or message old friends, you probably will miss out on that opportunity.
And you might live in your hometown still, and they're traveling back into town. So kind of being aware and paying attention. Well, Micah, my friend, my brother, my co-laborer, love you, brother. Thanks again for joining me. And
brother.
Once again, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this episode. We would love to hear your ideas for future content. Please visit supportraisingsolutions.org/feedback to share your thoughts and questions. Also, wherever you download your podcast from, be sure to subscribe for future episodes and come back each week to gain more insight into the process of building and maintaining your personal support team.